Lily Hartman had always dreamed of a love story that felt like a fairy tale. After years of struggles, identity battles, and facing society's judgment, she believed she had finally found happiness. Her wedding to Ethan was the happiest day of her life. Friends and family watched as she walked down the aisle, radiant in her white dress, her eyes full of hope. Ethan, standing at the altar, wore the face of a man in love. No one suspected the truth that lay beneath his calm smile. He had promised her forever. She believed him. Their honeymoon destination was handpicked by Lily herself, a secluded island in Thailand, surrounded by turquoise waters and white sands. She wanted peace, privacy, and time to celebrate their new beginning away from the world. The resort was luxurious, yet simple, perched on the edge of the island, with villas scattered far apart to offer couples complete seclusion. For Lily, it felt like paradise. For Ethan, it was something else entirely. From the moment they arrived, resort staff noticed something strange. Lily seemed overjoyed, laughing and taking pictures of the ocean, but Ethan stayed distant. He didn't touch her hand, didn't smile for her selfies. He walked behind her, his eyes avoiding hers. One staff member even mentioned later that Ethan looked like a man carrying a heavy burden, not the look of a man on his honeymoon. Lily seemed not to notice, or perhaps chose to ignore it, brushing off his coldness as post-wedding exhaustion. She believed Ethan loved her. Their villa was the most isolated one, farthest from the main resort buildings. A small wooden path led to their private beach. Lily saw it as the perfect escape. She swam in the mornings, took walks along the shoreline, and tried to coax Ethan into joining her. He rarely did. Instead, he sat alone in the villa, staring at nothing, lost in thought. What Lily didn't know was that Ethan's silence was hiding something darker. He wasn't tired. He wasn't overwhelmed. He was planning. On their second night, something unusual happened. Ethan approached the resort's night guard and casually asked if the security cameras near their villa could be turned off. He said they needed privacy. The guard, following protocol, refused. Ethan didn't argue. He simply nodded and walked back to the villa. Later, investigators would realize that this was not a harmless request. It was part of a carefully laid plan. Lily spent that evening uploading pictures to her social media. Her caption read, "Finally living my dream." Friends back home commented with hearts and congratulatory messages. No one could have guessed that within hours she would vanish. At sunrise on the third day, Ethan reported Lily missing. He claimed she had gone for an early swim and never returned. Resort staff sprang into action, searching the shoreline and nearby waters. Guests watched in confusion as boats began patrolling the ocean. Panic spread. But Ethan's reaction puzzled everyone. While others looked frantic, he sat still, calm, too calm. He answered questions with short, detached responses. He didn't ask to join the search. He didn't cry. One staff member described him as cold as stone. Behind closed doors, resort management contacted local police. Something felt wrong. A woman had vanished without a trace from a private resort, and her husband seemed almost relieved rather than scared. As police officers arrived, their first task was to examine security footage around the resort. When investigators reviewed the recordings, they found something that sent chills through everyone watching. Hours before Ethan claimed Lily had disappeared, he was seen walking alone from their villa, carrying something large, wrapped in bedsheets, heading towards the dense jungle that bordered the beach. The dream honeymoon was over. The nightmare had just begun. The moment police reviewed the security footage, the case shifted from a missing person search to a potential homicide investigation. Ethan had told staff that Lily went missing in the early morning hours, supposedly during a casual swim. But the footage told a different story. It showed Ethan leaving the villa alone in the middle of the night, long before sunrise. He carried something large, wrapped tightly in white sheets. clutched against his chest. His pace was steady, his expression blank. No hesitation. He disappeared into the thick jungle beyond the villa's private pathway and returned alone. The bundle gone, officers knew then that this wasn't an accident or miscommunication. Something terrible had happened. Ethan sat quietly in the villa. As police approached him for questioning, he didn't resist, nor did he show fear. He repeated his original statement. Lily had gone for a swim and simply vanished. His tone remained flat, emotionless. Investigators asked why he never reported her missing immediately after discovering her absence, why he hadn't searched for her himself. Ethan's answers were cold and simple. I didn't know what to do. While Ethan was questioned, a search team moved into the surrounding jungle. The island, known for its beauty, now became the focus of a grim search. Officers combed through palm trees, thick undergrowth, and sandy clearings. They knew time was against them. In the tropical heat, any evidence could deteriorate fast. After nearly 48 hours of searching, officers made a discovery that silenced everyone. Beneath a clump of palm leaves, partially hidden by sand, they found a shallow grave. Inside, wrapped in blood-stained sheets, lay Lily's lifeless body. Her skin was bruised around the neck, evidence of a brutal strangulation. Autopsy reports later confirmed she had likely been killed in her sleep. There were no defensive wounds, no signs of struggle. She hadn't even known it was coming. Resort staff and tourists were horrified. The island paradise had become a crime scene. Police cordoned off the area while forensic teams worked in the sweltering heat. Every detail mattered now. The sheets found around Lily's body matched the linen from Ethan and Lily's villa. Fingerprints taken from the fabric contained partial matches to Ethan. Investigators also found small traces of sand on the villa's bedroom floor, possibly from Ethan's movements during the night. The evidence was stacking up fast. Back in the resort, police arrested Ethan without incident. He didn't ask why. He didn't protest. He simply stood up, allowed officers to cuff him, and walked silently beside them. Guests watched in disbelief as the man who just days earlier posed as a loving husband was led away like a lifeless shell. As news broke, shockwaves spread worldwide. The case of Lily Hartman's disappearance, now a confirmed murder, drew media attention globally, not just because of the brutality, but because of who Lily was, a proud transgender woman whose story had inspired many. Social media flooded with images of her celebrating her wedding just days earlier, now captioned with messages of grief and outrage. Detectives dug deeper into Ethan's background, desperate to understand why a man would murder his wife on their honeymoon. What they found hinted at something even darker than jealousy or rage. Ethan had lived a double life. He presented himself as accepting and supportive, yet online, he harbored dark beliefs and dangerous intentions. As Ethan sat silently in an interrogation room, police pieced together the chilling possibility: Lily's murder wasn't a spontaneous act. It had been planned from the very beginning. As Ethan sat in the small, air-conditioned interrogation room, investigators worked around the clock to understand the true motive behind Lily's murder. The forensic evidence was overwhelming. His fingerprints were on the sheets used to bury her. The security footage showed him carrying the body. The shallow grave contained sand that matched samples from their villa. But the question remained: why? Why would a man marry someone just to kill her days later? Detectives dug into Ethan's past, uncovering details that made the case even darker. His social media history was carefully curated to show a life of normalcy, a man who supported his transgender wife and shared photos of their seemingly happy life together. But hidden accounts told a different story. Investigators found secret profiles in online forums where Ethan posted under anonymous usernames. On these forums, he discussed his hatred for transgender women. He viewed them not as people, but as symbols of deception. The language he used was disturbing, cold, and violent. In one post, dated nearly a year before the wedding, he wrote that one day he would end the lie. This discovery changed everything. Ethan's marriage to Lily wasn't built on love or acceptance. It was a trap. He had targeted her from the beginning, slowly earning her trust, building a relationship, proposing marriage, all to set her up for what he saw as justice. To him, Lily represented something he hated. And the honeymoon wasn't a celebration, it was a final destination. Investigators found even more disturbing evidence when they seized Ethan's laptop from the villa. Hidden files contained plans. Not detailed step-by-step instructions, but notes that revealed intent. There were searches like how to strangle silently, how long does it take to bury a body in sand, and how to hide fingerprints. On sheets. The timeline of these searches led up to the honeymoon trip itself. Perhaps the most chilling discovery was a digital journal entry Ethan had written the day before the wedding. In it, he wrote repeatedly, "She trusts me. She won't see it coming." In the interrogation room, Ethan refused to answer questions. He stared at the walls, his expression blank, as if the world around him didn't exist. He showed no remorse. No regret. Psychologists later described him as emotionally disconnected from human life, capable of extreme cruelty without emotional response. Asterisk. Lily's family, devastated by the revelations, struggled to understand how someone could fake love so convincingly. Her friends recalled Ethan as quiet, maybe distant, but never dangerous. He had never raised suspicion, never acted violently. He was careful, calculated, and cold. Back on the island, Lily's body was flown home, her dream honeymoon ending as the darkest chapter of her life. Memorials were held around the world. The LGBTQ+ community mourned her as more than just another victim. She became a symbol of how deeply hatred can hide behind a gentle smile, and how vulnerability can be used as a weapon against the trusting. The case left law enforcement shaken. It wasn't a crime of sudden rage or passion. It was a planned execution. A honeymoon designed as a death sentence. Ethan had spent months, possibly years, constructing the perfect lie. He let Lily fall in love, let her believe in their future, and then killed her the moment she felt safest. In the end, the only real question was whether Ethan ever truly saw Lily as a human being. His silence answered that question more than words ever could. Asterisk. Ethan's trial became one of the most watched cases in recent memory. The media labeled him as the honeymoon killer. Crowds gathered outside the courthouse each day, holding Lily's photos and signs demanding justice. Inside, the atmosphere was heavy with silence, as if the entire room was waiting for Ethan to show some sign of remorse. But he never did. Throughout the proceedings, he sat motionless, eyes fixed forward, unmoved by the evidence being presented. The prosecution built its case carefully. They presented the timeline of events, the staged disappearance, the late-night trip carrying Lily's body, the shallow grave. Each piece of forensic evidence tied directly back to Ethan, but it was the digital evidence that delivered the most shocking blow. Prosecutors revealed Ethan's hidden online world, exposing his hatred, his plans, and his true motive. They showed the jury his forum posts, his disturbing search history, and the journal entry where he had written, "She won't see it coming." Experts testified about Ethan's psychological state. Clinical psychologists described him as cold, calculating, and unable to form genuine emotional connections. He viewed Lily not as a person he loved, but as a symbol he needed to destroy. In his mind, the entire relationship had been nothing more than a setup. Every romantic gesture, every promise of love, was carefully designed to gain Lily's trust, so he could take her life without suspicion. One particularly haunting piece of evidence was presented in court, a note found in Ethan's suitcase. written on hotel stationery. It contained only one sentence, repeated over and over in shaky handwriting: "No one will miss her." Lily's family attended every day of the trial, sitting in silence as the man they once trusted was exposed as a monster. Her mother broke down during testimony, unable to understand how her daughter's life could end in such a brutal and calculated way. Friends shared memories of Lily's kindness, her courage, and her excitement about her future, a future Ethan had stolen in a single night. When the verdict was announced, the courtroom remained silent. Ethan was found guilty of first-degree murder. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He showed no reaction, no tears, no regret, just silence. After the sentencing, details emerged about Ethan's life in prison. He refused visits, refused to speak to anyone, and spent most of his days sitting alone in his cell, staring at the walls. Psychologists explained that he wasn't haunted by guilt. He simply didn't care. Outside the courtroom, Lily's family made a statement to the world. They didn't speak of vengeance. They spoke of awareness. Lily's story, they said, should be a reminder of how hidden hate can take the form of love. They encouraged others to learn from what happened, to recognize the signs of emotional coldness hidden behind fake affection. In the years that followed, Lily's legacy grew. Her family launched the Lily Hartman Foundation, dedicated to raising awareness about violence against transgender individuals and supporting those at risk. Across social media, the hashtag Justice for Lily became a symbol of the fight against hidden hatred. What made Lily's story so tragic was not just her murder, but the betrayal that preceded it. She believed she had found love. She believed she was safe. But the man she trusted the most had been planning her death from the very beginning. And in the end, the only person Ethan ever cared about was himself. Long after the courtroom lights dimmed and the news cameras packed away, the story of Lily Hartman continued to ripple through communities across the world. What had started as a celebration of love had ended in the ultimate betrayal. Yet, even in death, Lily's voice began to grow louder than it had ever been in life. Her name, once spoken in joy during wedding toasts, was now spoken in vigils, protests, and movements demanding justice for those like her, those whose lives were cut short by hidden hatred disguised as love. In the months following Ethan's conviction, the world grappled with the deeper questions her case raised. How could someone plan something so cruel under the guise of romance? How many others like Lily had placed their trust in people who only saw them as targets? Her murder wasn't just a tragedy, it was a wake-up call. The Lily Hartman Foundation, created by her family, quickly became a powerful force. It provided legal and emotional support to transgender individuals facing threats or abuse. Workshops, school programs, and national campaigns were launched to teach people about recognizing psychological manipulation and covert hatred. Survivors began sharing their stories of being deceived, used, and nearly broken by those who claimed to love them. Lily had become a symbol, but not of victimhood. She was a reminder of courage, of trust, and of the price paid when that trust is betrayed. Ethan, now behind bars for life, remained emotionless. In prison, he isolated himself from others, refusing any form of counseling or rehabilitation. Guards reported that he rarely spoke, rarely reacted, and spent his days staring blankly at the prison yard. There were no apologies, no letters, no indication that he ever felt guilt or grief. To many, this was confirmation that Ethan had never truly seen Lily as a person. In his eyes, she had always been a target, someone to be lured, deceived, and discarded. But while Ethan faded into a silent corner of the prison system, Lily's story surged into universities, podcasts, documentaries, and global conversations. Artists painted murals of her smile. Writers penned essays on her strength. Activists carried signs bearing her name. Schools began teaching about psychological red flags in relationships. Lawmakers, moved by the public outcry, proposed new protections for transgender individuals against intimate partner violence. Despite the progress, the pain remained. Lily's family continued to live with the memory of the daughter they lost. Every photo, every message she had left behind, felt like echoes from a life that should have continued. Her mother once said in an interview, "She didn't die because she was weak. She died because she trusted someone who made weakness out of love." As the years passed, more stories emerged, stories of survival, of escape, and of courage. People who saw themselves in Lily found the strength to walk away from dangerous relationships. Others found the courage to be who they were, knowing they were not alone. Lily's death had shaken the world, but in that shaking, something had shifted. Ethan may have taken her life, but he had not silenced her. In fact, he had done the opposite. He had revealed the depth of cruelty that could hide behind kindness, the darkness that could cloak itself in affection. And by doing so, he had awakened a world to be more watchful, more protective, and more aware. Lily's dream honeymoon ended in horror, but her legacy began the moment her story was told. She was not forgotten. She became the fire behind a movement, the voice behind a cause, and the heart behind a new generation's fight for safety, dignity, and truth.